the CineSnob podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 346 of the CineSnob podcast. My name is Cody Villafana, and I'm joined this week by Kiko Martinez and Jocelyn Durand for the first proper episode of 2026, where we will be reviewing films that are coming out this year. So we officially put 2025 behind us. We had a couple of markers for that, including our top 10 episode and the Houston Film Critics Society Awards, which just came out on Tuesday. So for anyone who hadn't seen, Kiko and I are members of that Critics Association, and the big winner was Sinners, that took home a bunch of different prizes. I think it was like picture, screenplay. I think Michael B. Jordan won. I think it won some technical stuff.
Coogler won director.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did it win screenplay?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it won. I mean, it basically ran the table on everything. So
Yeah. But a cool winner that I thought. I not a lot of what I voted for won, which is fine. It happens. But one thing that I did vote for that I was glad to see win was Jacob Elordi for Best Supporting Actor. Was one that I was happy about. I've got the winners here. Again, this is Houston Film Critics Society. Picture, director, screenplay, cinematography, score, casting, ensemble cast, and actor lead role, if I didn't say that, all went to Sinners. You have Jessie Buckley winning Best Actress, Amy Madigan from Weapons winning Supporting Actress, animated feature K-pop Demon Hunters, documentary The Perfect Neighbor, which is great to see, foreign language feature Sentimental Value, Best Song Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters, visual effects Avatar Fire and Ash, stunt coordination Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, and the TIFA Award, Texas Independent Film Award to the Librarians. So,
which I didn't see. Did you see The Librarians?
I did not get to see that, no, unfortunately.
Yeah, I did. I voted for something else.
Yeah.
I voted for the football movie.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
Wasn't it about Texas librarians?
Yeah, so that
sense.
award is always either about Texas or was like produced in Texas.
There you go.
So yeah, but yeah, that's, if by my count, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 awards for Sinners from the Houston Film Critics Society, a movie that I did not vote for at all.
You didn't even put it in your top 10
Not
list. What are
even
you
your
talking
top
about?
10.
Yeah.
And so I think we're doing this podcast on Wednesday night, and Oscar nominations come out tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that what's going to happen, what everybody thinks is going to happen, is that Sinners is going to break the record for most nominations ever by a film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that's going to happen. So I think it's going to come down to Sinners or One Battle After Another for Best Picture at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, it kind of seems that way. For a while, it seemed like it was either Hamnet or One Battle After Another, and I feel like Hamnet sort of faded a little bit in the mix. But I think it's basically One Battle After Another's to lose at this point. But yeah, so 2025 behind us. We probably won't review too much that was from 2025 that's coming out this year, the stuff that sort of like comes out slowly, but we'll see if there's something, unique or important that comes out. But one thing that is exciting about the start of 2026, in addition to all the fun January movies that I'm sure are soon to come out, is that the Sundance Film Festival kicks off tomorrow, Thursday, January 22nd, in person in Park City, Utah, for the final year. Sundance is moving to, I believe, Boulder, Colorado next year. And this is also an important Sundance because it is the first without founder Robert Redford, who passed away last year. So there's a lot of tributes going on. And as we mentioned last time, I will be covering the virtual version of the Sundance Film Festival on CineSnob.net next week. So basically, the in-person festival starts on Thursday the 22nd. And then if you want to watch anything virtually at home, that programming starts on the 29th through Sunday, February 2nd. Or actually Sunday, February 1st, I think that is. And so One thing I wanted to do is just talk about some of the movies that are available. I'm going to preview the whole festival on an article on CineSnob, but I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the movies that are going to be available online for people to rent or watch if they are interested. And so I just highlighted a handful of movies here. There's one called, and by the way, if anyone is curious, the movies that are available online are all the competition films. So that's U.S. narrative, U.S. dramatic, world documentary. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I meant U.S. dramatic and U.S. documentary, and then a handful from like some other sections. So these are all competition films, except for one. So one is called Carousel. A movie, what's logline says, a divorced doctor's carefully constructed life in Cleveland is upended when his daughter's debate aspirations and the unexpected return of a past love force him to confront his own choices and embrace a second chance. That movie stars Chris Pine and Jenny Slate. And so anytime there's a competition film with good cast, good actors, I'm always interested in it. And there's some good supporting characters there. And it's written and directed by Rachel Lambert, who made a movie called Sometimes I Think About Dying a couple of years ago. A movie where it's like, I don't know, Kiko, I'm sure you've seen this a million times, where you see like potential and talent in a director, even though maybe that movie doesn't really do much for you, which is kind of how I felt about Sometimes I Think About Dying. I'm interested to see that one for sure. Also, a couple of others. There's one called Josephine. Logline says, after 8-year-old Josephine accidentally witnesses a crime in Golden Gate Park, she acts out in search of a way to regain control of her safety while adults are helpless to console her. Jocelyn, I'm sure that sounds right up your alley. Yeah.
It's got the true crime element that I tend to like, but...
Yeah, exactly. So that stars, and so a supporting role, Channing Tatum and Gemma Chan. I believe they play the parents. I think that I'm always interested in sort of like movies through the eyes of kids, because I think it can either be really great or really not great. Like What Macy Knew is one that we've talked about a lot, which I think is like the divorce through the eyes of a kid that I think is a really great movie. And this one kind of sounds like maybe it maybe follows in those footsteps. So interested in that one. There's also a documentary called Seized. So this one is when the small town of Marion, Kansas is thrust into the international spotlight after a police raid on the Marion County Record and the death of its 98-year-old co-owner. A fierce debate ignites about the abuse of power, journalistic ethics, local journalism, and the United States Constitution.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah,
Who's in that one?
Yeah, journalism movies, especially journalism documentaries, always interesting to me. I don't actually. Do either of you know this story? I don't. Yeah.
So it's a documentary?
Yeah, this is a documentary.
And what city was it in?
Marion, Kansas.
And I used to live there too. I don't remember.
Yeah. So it was in 2023. The police raided the newspaper, seizing computers and records, and also the homes of journalists. And it was sparked by a dispute with a restaurant owner over leaked driving records.
Wow.
Yeah. So, super interesting. I'm curious to check that out as well.
Reporting in a small town is crazy. Like I started, of course, in Abilene, and it's just like, you never know who you're going to piss off and whose brother knows someone. And it's all kind of really fascinating in those small towns.
Yeah, for sure. And so again, like 98-year-old co-owner, so obviously maybe it's like a long-standing, traditional news outlet and stuff like that. So yeah.
Do you have to pay for these like a regular like movie ticket, or are these expensive to rent?
I think they're like $20 to $25 a movie to rent.
But you could have like 30 people watching it at the same time, right?
Yeah, nothing stopping people from watching together or grouping together for that.
Like
or
renting out an AMC theater.
I don't think you can do that, but and then I think maybe they may have passes where you can like get like 10 films or something like that. I should know.
Oh, right. This. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can do like an online. So it's $35 for a single ticket, or $815 to get on demand for everything that you want. And then it's $350 for 10 tickets. So, Yeah, and then so a couple of others. One of them is I wanted to kind of spotlight each section or as many sections as I could, and one is from the World Dramatic Competition, which is called How to Divorce During the War. So it says in Vilnius in 2022, Maria has a revelation that she wants to divorce her husband right before Russia invades Ukraine. Forced to confront their crumbling relationship, they navigate the process of divorce as it collides with the ongoing war. Again, right up my alley. Divorce movie plus war movie plus, it sounds depressing, painful to watch. I'm totally in on that one.
Too bad this one. Now this one is not a documentary, right?
No, this is a dramatic film. Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, a movie called Chasing Summer. Now, this one is part of the premiere section, one of the few of the premiere sections available online for audiences, called and it's called Chasing Summer. It is directed by Josephine Decker, who has made a couple of movies that had like fair amount of buzz the last few years. So she made Madeline's Madeline and also Shirley, the Elizabeth Moss movie from a couple of years ago. That one, this one is written by, I don't know if either of you know the comedian Eliza Schlesinger, but it is written by her and also stars her. And
she's the elder millennial. So
okay.
It's like for women, she's kind of one of our favorites.
Oh, okay. Well, here, let me try to sell you on this. After losing both her job and boyfriend, Jamie retreats to her small Texas hometown where friends and flings from a fateful high school summer turn her life upside down.
You had me at, yeah.
I read about this one, yes.
Yeah.
Josephine, the director as well. I liked Shirley. Shirley was really great as far as like female authors. It was Elizabeth Moss playing Sylvia Plath, right? No, Shirley Jackson.
Yeah.
Sorry. I knew it was a famous author. It's in the name.
Yes.
Anyway, and then Eliza Schlesinger, it's her first screenplay.
I don't know if it's her first screenplay, but she did write the screenplay.
That sounds right up my alley. I'm so excited.
And if you look at the still that they provided, it's got Eliza Schlesinger drinking out of a Buc-ee's cup. So.
Oh yeah, no, that's gonna be like my jam.
Yeah. So those are the movies I'm looking forward to watching at home. And then if you happen to be in Park City or Salt Lake City and have access to the festival, there's a lot of great stuff that's not playing at home. There's a movie. There's the new David Wayne movie written by Ken Marino called Gail Daughtry and the Celebrity Sex Pass, about a bride-to-be who has a hall pass who uses it, and they go through that. There is an interesting movie called The Invite that has the combo of, it's directed by Olivia Wilde and then written by Rashida Jones and Will McCormick, starring Seth Rogen and Olivia Wilde, and it's about and this is the log line. Joe and Angela are on thin ice, and tonight might be when it all falls apart. Unfortunately, their upstairs neighbors are about to arrive for dinner, and everything that can go wrong goes worse. And the cast is Seth Rogen, Olivia Wilde, Penelope Cruz, and Edward Norton.
Nice.
So that should be interesting.
For sure, yeah.
And then, have either of you ever watched How To with John Wilson, the HBO show? So it's kind of like Nathan Fielder type, very dry humor. It's very about mundane stuff that happens, and
God, I think you made me watch it.
Yeah, it's very, very funny, but it's very dry, sarcastic humor. And John Wilson has a movie, a documentary at Sundance called The History of Concrete, which has my favorite log line of the festival, which says, after attending a workshop on how to write and sell a Hallmark movie, filmmaker John Wilson tries to use the same formula to sell a documentary about concrete.
Oh, can't wait. Yeah. That sounds as ridiculous as friendship.
Yeah. So these are just some of the movies I'm looking forward to. And you can check out the whole festival lineup at festival.sundance.org. Again, you can buy individual tickets. I think the passes are sold out, but you can buy individual tickets for $35 each. It's always a great time. And Sundance is the first festival that really embraced virtual elements, and they have by far the best virtual festival experience that I've ever done. It's really great. It's really smooth. Everything, looks great. So I will be covering that, not this week, but the following week. So looking forward to it.
I'm jealous. The few that you rattled off. I mean, it's Chris Pine is the best Chris, so you got that one right off the bat.
But between who? What Chris's are we
Chris
talking
Pine,
about here?
Chris
Evans, Hemsworth, Pratt.
Dude, you did that real quick.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Chris Pine's number
Well, it's because
one.
he has the posters of them on his wall right there.
We all have our favorite Chris,
Pine's number one.
I would say
Pine or Klein?
Pine.
Pine.
The handsome one who's an incredible actor and choosing really interesting roles lately.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that is probably the best Chris, I would say. But
He's the least problematic as well, which is always a plus.
well, I don't know that like Chris Hemsworth is problematic, but
True, but more so than Pine, who's an angel baby on Earth. So
hey, you're jinxing it. Something's gonna come out about him.
I've heard interviews with him. He's just like incredibly sensitive and thoughtful, and I'm pulling for him. Listen, I'm crossing my fingers. Hopefully,
Yeah.
nothing comes out overnight.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, then let's go ahead and get started. We've got a few movies today, so let's get to it.
Here are this week's reviews.
So first up this week, we have 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. So if you were one of the people who went to see 28 Years Later last year and saw the end and thought, what the fuck is going on? This is a movie that answers that question. So 28 Years Later and 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple were shot back to back. And the movie 28 Years Later ends with like this gang of people in blonde wigs doing all sorts of crazy violent stuff and appearing, and then like credits roll. And this kind of picks up shortly after the events of 28 Years Later, where the sort of protagonist, the boy Spike from the first movie, is rescued by the Fingers gang, who is led by a character played by
Jimmy.
Jack O'Connell, Jimmy. All of the Fingers gang is named Jimmy. And basically they sort of initiate the kid into the group, and it's basically a movie that has like two parallel storylines. One about the sort of gang of the Fingers alongside Ray Fiennes, who is in the first one, who plays Dr. Kelson, who kind of bonds with the alpha kind of zombie from the first movie. And these stories kind of happen, you go back to back between them until they eventually converge. And and so I'm a little bit torn on this movie a little bit, because I did not love 28 Years Later all that much. I didn't care for it. And this movie is interesting because it doesn't really feel like it fits in with the rest of the franchise. This movie is like barely about zombies. It's barely about the outbreak. And it's more of a sort of like character-driven study about the horrors of what happens to people in the wake of, humanity sort of like falling off, where you get to see the powers of like, a charismatic figure leading others, how, crazy, delusions can sometimes get in the way of things. The group is really violent and perpetrating violence, and the real villain or scary thing is man, as the movie tries to say. And for me, I don't know that this story is like all that compelling, because again, I feel like it doesn't really fit in. The story with Ray Fiennes and the alpha and the bonding, like I think is, again, okay, but doesn't really, is not really all that narratively interesting to me. I think it's enhanced by Ray Fiennes, who is great in the movie. It's a really good performance from him. I think Jack O'Connell is also really good and scary as Jimmy Crystal. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it almost feels like it's barely a horror movie, right? It's a horror movie in the same way that like torture porn movies are horror, right? Where it's like uber violent. It's like unsettling in terms of like the level of violence, but it doesn't have the jump scares. Like I said, there's like a handful of zombies in this movie, but they are few and far between. It's really focused on Ralph Fiennes' character trying to, bond and then hopefully eventually like find a cure for the virus. And it just kind of feels like this is a bridge movie where it's setting up between the first and third chapters, and then, to its credit, telling its own story that is self-contained, but also telling a story that feels completely different than anything else in the series in a way that I can see how people could find it to be like interesting to watch them explore this. However, the intrigue like never really came to me. That being said, it's not without its moments. I feel like the director Nia DaCosta does a good job of taking Danny Boyle's style and running with it. There are a lot of like really interesting shots and perspective changes and stuff like that. I also feel like there are a couple of really great scenes in here. I think in particular, there's a scene with Ralph Fiennes in an Iron Maiden song that I feel is like fantastic. Like that whole sequence is really great. As over the top as that scene is and theatrical as like Ralph Fiennes' character ends up being, which feels a little bit off, that scene is just so well executed. It's a great needle drop that happens in the movie, and it's the highlight of probably the 2 movies, period, I think. Like that sequence is just really great. Is it like boring? No, I don't think it's ever boring. I think it's like entertaining enough, but just a movie where like I just don't really care about what's going on in it. I don't know that it pushes the narrative of like 28 days, weeks, and years further. Like I said, it just feels like a bridge movie to get to ultimately where this movie ends, which I'm not going to spoil what happens at the end, but it's out there what happens. It's actually it was featured in the movie trivia that they showed before the movie. It spoiled something about the end of the movie, which I thought was kind of crazy, even though I knew what was going to happen. And that to me feels like the true continuation of the story, whereas this feels like a side quest of some kind. So, for me, just okay. Not a bad movie, but really didn't pique my interest at any point. I will go ahead and go to Kiko and get your thoughts on 28 years later, The Bone Temple.
Yeah, I find it perplexing, like out of all these 4 movies of the franchise, that this is the one that is the best reviewed by both critics and audiences. I have no idea why, because in my opinion, I put it last. Now, that's not to say I didn't like anything from it, right? I thought it was the funniest one of them all. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but I was laughing when he was creating this bond between him and the Alpha. There's a scene where they're like sitting out and looking at the sunset or something. I just started cracking up. Like I just thought it was hilarious that this scene was happening. So that whole bromance, I'm not sure if I was into it completely, but I thought that the Alpha and Ralph Fiennes, it was definitely a choice for them to make, which I thought was interesting. So we've had to wait 18 years between the second movie and the third movie, but I honestly like the fact that they're continuing with this mythology based on I'm just based on the way that it ended and based on the way that this one ends, without getting too far into it. I'm very excited about like where the narrative is going to go. So with that said, like I thought Bone Temple, I thought it felt like you said, it felt like a stepping stone to a more meaningful chapter coming up. It feels like almost like a part of a zombie TV series, I thought, where they kind of like needed a break from the actual zombies to say something, more deeper thematically about, power structures and the cults and things like that. So yeah, you always see those types of those horror TV shows where like, it's all zombie for like, 5 episodes, and then there's like a slowdown, like almost a cadence, a break, and then they continue on. Because I mean, the zombies are basically cameos in this, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the last 2 films also have been a lot glossier than I would have liked. The style of the original one still feels the most genuine to me. This one, especially, I thought had a lot of Hollywood shine to it. So, plus I thought a lot of the religious symbolism was really heavy-handed. I mean, from the upside-down crucifixes to an actual fucking crucifixion happening. It's just a little bit too much for me. But again, I'll reiterate what you said. The best thing about this film, I thought, was Ralph Fiennes and that scene at the end. He goes all in with this character. I thought that dance scene was super entertaining. Like, it was great.
It's so well shot and executed.
It was very
too.
well shot, very funny. I took my daughter to see this because she was begging me to watch it because she saw the first one with me at home, which was fine. I mean, I'm not when it comes to parenting, the violent stuff is. I'm more.
How old is
worried.
she?
She's 14.
Oh my gosh! I watched Reservoir Dogs when I was like 10.
Okay,
so
yeah,
she's
exactly.
fine.
I'm worried. I don't want her to see too much of any sex scenes, right?
There's
So
some
I
Oh
was
my
a
gosh,
one.
so American. Sex
So
is
I was a little
no,
bit
but
like-
violence is okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So American.
That's perfect. So I thought there was a little bit too much full frontal zombie penises.
Yeah,
in this,
there was
but,
a lot more. Yeah,
But other than that, that's just a little note for parents out there that
I did
All right.
message Cody and say, yeah, that the return of the zombie peen.
Yeah. Well, Well, we've heard enough from the prude. So, Jocelyn, if you want to step in and give your
It
thoughts.
was the perfect amount of zombie peen for you. Listen, remember the first time we reviewed this, we had a discussion about it. And whether it was as impressive as everyone was making it out to be.
Yeah.
I'm
I
a
missed
size
that.
queen. I'm a size.
Yeah. So Jocelyn's yawning the whole time.
Yeah. Anyway. So the end of the last movie, I was actually really excited for it to take this kind of weird direction with this like weird cult that they all wear blonde wigs and everything. And what I realized watching this movie is I was really expecting it to take more of like a Lost Boys type of a narrative where it's like this like really cool scrappy gang of people who have found each other in this like crazy world. And instead it was like this Manson family, literally like the Manson family. And so that was really disappointing to me because I think that it could have been a lot more interesting if they had taken it more in the direction of like Lost Boys, even maybe like Lord of the Flies a little bit, where it's like these people trying to make it in this world rather than it just being like Cody said, torture porn. Like it got to the point where I was like, okay, this is enough. Like I'm not into this type of stuff. And it gets to a point also where it's not even scary anymore. It's just gratuitous.
Yeah.
So like you said, it wasn't really even a horror movie. It was just like torture porn, like Saw movie, which was disappointing because I feel like the director is really great and she does do a great job of, like you guys mentioned, kind of bringing in the Danny Boyle elements, but then also kind of making it her own. I thought the music was a little off. It just felt a little weird. I know it's because Ray Fiennes was like playing vinyl records, but it just seemed a little, I don't know, like not in the right atmosphere or mood of the movie. So all that to say, I think it was good. I know that there was a payoff and it kind of made sense why they had made it so, violent in the beginning, but I just couldn't kind of shake that off. Also, I think Ray Fiennes is just like so out of place because he's so excellent. Like he's just so incredibly good. It's like, why is he in this movie? Why is he doing this? Like it feels beneath him a little bit. I will say though that with the kind of spoiler at the end, I feel like they are taking it in a better direction. But I wish that they had sort of not thrown this one away so much to be just kind of like a junky bloodfest sort of a movie. I think it deserved better. That's what I'm going to say. I think that this sequel deserved better because I'm excited to see where the trilogy goes. And this one, like I said, I just think it could have been a lot better.
I think he probably could have made worse choices if he's picking like a zombie franchise to jump into, right? I think this one probably. I mean, if you're going to jump into a zombie franchise, you might as well jump into one that Danny Boyle started. So
I know.
I like the fact that he was in it.
And
Yeah,
an Alex
no, you're
Garland
right.
screenplay, and
But man, he's just so good. Like he's so. It's not even that he's mismatched because you're right. The other Jimmy is also very good as a villain. I just feel like for the content, like I mean, the stuff with the alpha with Samson is a little silly. Like it's just sort of, it seems beneath him a little bit. Like you're a little too good for this, Ray Fiennes. Like
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, all right. Well, we'll get into final thoughts and grades. And for me, I think as far as like fitting into the narrative structure of everything, this all feels like a detour instead of a destination. And I feel like as a chapter in a series, I think the whole thing is like I think it needs to have continuity to some degree. And I feel like the continuity falls away with this one, which feels completely different, which is, again, it's nice to have an entry, but you know how sometimes you have these movies that are like set in the world of 28 Days Later or whatever? That's what this feels like. It feels like a separate movie set in the world of 28 Days Later. The problem is it's a direct sequel to 28 Years Later. And so it bears the same name, right? It's a movie that's not without its moments. It is intriguing and enough, and I've been on the fence of like C plus B minus like all week with this one, and I think ultimately where I have to land is C plus. I feel like it does not do enough to get to a recommend. I do think it's better than 28 Years Later, and I might revise this to a B minus because it's seriously so close. It's a coin flip, but I think just overall, because of the narrative not really working for me at all, I think I can't quite get it there. But Kiko, your final thoughts and grade.
Man, it's crazy. I'm a coin flip too with a C plus B minus. I couldn't figure it out, but I think I jumped over to a B minus just because of that dance scene.
Yeah,
to,
sure.
to be honest with you, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna go and see a movie just for that scene, I would pay $15 just to see it.
That's fair.
So yeah, but again, coin flip. There's just things that don't work at all for me. I think it's the funniest one, but I just didn't think it had a clear creative voice to it. I do appreciate after the 18-year gap that we had that the filmmakers are expanding this mythology, and it definitely has me intrigued about where the story is going to go next, especially with the way this one ends. So if they follow that momentum, I really hope that part 5, wherever it goes, whether it has Rafe or not, that it doesn't jump the shark in any way, and we don't have like a title that it's like 28 Years Later presents or something like that. I don't want that, but so we'll see what happens with what they come out. But Danny Boyle is going to be directing the next one, and to be honest with you, I mean, if the 5th one really works out, I mean, I could see this moving forward a little bit more. There's a lot of world to be walked through in this franchise. So I'm at a B minus, but barely.
Okay, and Jocelyn.
To be explored. Yeah,
Oh,
I
rip.
think I think it just felt a little too disjointed. Like everything just felt kind of awkward, including Ray Fiennes' performance. It's just, it doesn't really flow with everything and the quality of the narrative, in my opinion, to have this like weird torture porn movie going on and then having this like relationship heavy, almost like Shakespearean level acting with Ray Fiennes and Samson. It just felt really awkward for me. And not to say it wasn't good, but I just didn't really enjoy it. So I am giving it a solid C.
All right. We will go ahead and move on to The Rip. So The Rip is a Netflix movie written and directed by Joe Carnahan, starring Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Stephen Yeun, Tiana Taylor, and Kyle Chandler. And, we, former host of this show, Jared, and I used to talk about this all the time, where like it seemed like every week or month there was some kind of like Netflix movie coming out that had like A-list talent, well-known like filmmakers that like nobody was talking about, nobody had heard of. There was like, oh, there's a new Kevin Hart movie coming out on Netflix that nobody's talking about. Or
that's your A-list example?
Yeah, you don't think Kevin Hart's A-list?
Sorry, of all the names, that was not what I was expecting, so that just kind of cracked me up.
All right, he's like the biggest comedian in the world, probably.
True.
But
No, true. Touche.
But anyway,
A-minus.
but this is another example of this, where this is a movie where, like, again, I don't think anyone's talking about this movie. I haven't seen anything about it, not any buzz, good or bad.
Well, there is a little bit more talk now with what's come out about the movie. You've heard about what's going on with that, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, about the Ben Affleck and Matt Damon made an interview.
Yeah,
a few
about
days
like
ago, about
Netflix wanting them to
Netflix's-
restate the plot.
Yeah,
Multiple
they're
times.
talking about the algorithm that Netflix uses to make movies, and so they kind of like threw Netflix under the bus. It's like, okay, well, this is the mold that Netflix has to make movies because people are watching it on their phones, and they're getting
Which-
people,
Look,
distracted. So this is the way that they have to make movies now because
Right, where they have to like say the thing that they're doing instead of showing it.
Exactly.
and look, this is a thing where like I would be fine with this, and other filmmakers have done this too, if they didn't sit there and take millions of Netflix money to put this movie out there and then complain about it. Like, it's the same shit about like Ryan Johnson complaining about these Knives Out movies not getting theatrical runs. Like, you signed up for this. Like, you took their money. Like, whatever. It's neither here nor there. But this movie is about some cops, right? It's upon discovering millions in cash in a derelict stash house, trust among a team of Miami cops begins to fray as outside forces learn about the size of the seizure. Everything is called into question, including who they can rely on. This movie, The Rip, is a great example of a movie that can be a little bit generic, that is elevated by talent, right? Where I feel like when you have a cast that has Matt Damon and Ben Affleck in it, it elevates the material because they are very, very good, and they are very, very good together. I feel like the whole cast is very good. You know, from Steven Yeun to, you know, Kyle Chandler in a really good role. And I think they just elevate the source material, where this is not anything unique. You know, it is about it's sort of like a moral, you know, cops in a moral dilemma kind of thing, where they realize that they have more money than they thought, and they have to figure out what to do, and they're pressured of like, you know, well, do they take the money? Do they report the money? And you see the sort of like differences start to formulate between people and different opinions, and you start to question who's good, who's bad, who's right, who's wrong. You know, one of those types of movies, again, it's been done a million times, but, you know, I think that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck add a lot to the mix. I think that the Joe Carnahan's direction is typically pretty good within it. It's another movie that is a Netflix movie that I feel like has scale. It feels big. It feels theatrical to me. It has a great it has great sound. It's got some good camera work. It does get a little bit dark towards the end of the movie in terms of like the lighting, but I feel like that is it's like well enough directed. And I think that the movie has like I like where the story goes, and I like the way that it kind of plays out and like shows its cards. However, I do think that if I had one complaint about the story, it does sort of, and maybe this is to the point of what Damon and Affleck are saying, it does sort of hold the audience's hand a little bit through its reveal, where there's a lot of like cutaway scenes or flashbacks that I feel like aren't really necessary. I feel like the audience can maybe put what's going on together on their own instead of being spoon-fed. You know, small critique, but I feel like that's not always needed.
Not when you're changing diapers. Not when you're changing diapers
exactly.
at the same time.
But I feel like the movie is entertaining enough, and I think that it's a perfectly decent sort of action, you know, cop thriller. I do think that it sort of gets sort of like perilously close to propaganda a little bit, in terms of just sort of like the moral makeup of its characters. But you know, I feel like it's perfectly serviceable. And I feel like it's, you know, I think for a Netflix movie, you could do a lot worse. And I feel like it's just an example of a movie that is really elevated by its on-screen talent, where this could have been a throwaway movie, but I think Affleck and Damon in particular, you know, lift it up. So Jocelyn, I will go ahead and go to you.
It's funny that you started by talking about how you haven't seen any buzz about it, because literally I haven't heard anything about it. You said we were covering it last week, and Kiko mentioned Narc in the opening sequence there, where I was like, all of a sudden, like, oh crap, like I remember Narc and loving that. So, okay, director, check. I sit down to watch it and I'm like, oh crap, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Like, that's that new movie they're promoting. Meanwhile, I only saw that they were promoting something recently because they were talking about the Housewives. And it was on my housewife algorithm. So that's hilarious that, like, I did not know that this was connected at all. I hadn't even heard about this dumb movie if it hadn't been for my love of the dumb housewives. So anyway, I'm sitting down and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, so that's what this is. I think
What's the housewife story? I don't know that one.
So like there's this Salt Lake City housewife who's really kind of delusional, and she was like, I can't come to this thing. I have a event with I'm not going to drop names, but Blake and Brad. And so they're all like, really? Like you didn't hang out with Ben Affleck. And so the interviewer was like, hey, did you do an event with this housewife? And he's like, I'm not going to put anyone under the bus or anything.
Okay.
But like, so basically just like she was name dropping and he didn't know who she was, basically.
That's funny.
And that's literally the only reason why I knew that they were interviewing for anything. And I didn't even know it was for something like this, The Rip. So that was like a weird meshing of realizations for it to be this movie where I'm like, man, like Cody said, perfectly generic. Like this was like the most perfectly generic cop movie. I felt like it gave me a little Heat vibes. I would recommend this to my parents. Like I'm like, if they're like, what should we watch? I'll be like, you know what? There's this movie on Netflix, The Rip. Like it's a perfectly like suitable mom and dad movie. I wish they had explained why there's like these two Boston cops in Miami and like why Ben Affleck is fluent in Spanish. I don't think that there was enough about like their backstory.
But he is though in real life,
and so is Matt Damon, I believe. No, and Matt Damon is as well. I just think that like they're like they kind of stand out as these like two white guys who maybe it's not so clear that they're from Boston, but they definitely give like kind of like Boston cop vibes. I mean, like Ben Affleck is smoking indoors the whole time, which cracked me up. He was like in the bath. He was smoking during the interrogation, but then he like goes into a bathroom and he's still smoking. And I'm like, so he carried that cigarette through the hallway, like all the way to the bathroom of this like building. That just really cracked me up. But I agree. I think that this is a super generic movie that was elevated by great performances, including Kyle Chandler. Oh my God. When he arrived, I was just like, thank God Kyle Chandler's here. Like, I feel like I'm in good hands now. And then the twists and turns are kind of like, well, yeah, duh. Like you see it coming a mile away, but that's not to say it isn't fun. And then I also messaged Cody and I was like, if someone's shooting an AR at you, you're dead before you can duck. Like Ben Affleck's like ducking while he's driving, and it's just like that type of a movie where he's like dodging bullets. So you gotta suspend belief a little bit and just enjoy the ride, I guess you can say.
Yeah. All right. And Kiko, your thoughts on The Rip?
Yeah, I'm glad that both of you said that it was generic. But it's because I agree with you, but I'm on the other side of the fence when it comes to recommending it. So my biggest problems with this film was just how, like how thoughtless the entire plan is, like the heist itself, like these corrupt cops. Like, I don't think it's giving too much away, but there's basically you have to guess who the bad guy is, right? One of these many characters, which is a great cast. I'll give that to you, of course. One of them is the bad guy, right? So the setup, but the setup behind the plan is like, it makes no sense when you think about like how did anybody think they were going to get away with what they're trying to get away with? There's just way too many things that could have happened or should have happened.
Because it's Miami, Kiko. It's corrupt.
I mean, there's
it's smoky and
there's too many people involved in this plan to work. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and that just bothered me through the whole thing. So I just think basically this movie wasn't as clever as it thought it was. They pulled a rug from underneath you a couple of times, but honestly, if you're really paying attention to the first half hour or so, there's a series of scenes which they come back to at the end with Matt Damon, who spells the whole thing out for you, right? So I'm not, and don't get me wrong, I'm not smart enough to figure out
right
these types of movies all the time, but I knew exactly who the bad guy was like way sooner than I should have, just based on those types of things. And maybe that's what they were talking about when it comes to spoon feeding, or Cody said spoon feeding a little bit too much, because when they did it there, it was very obvious to me the way that he gave
they're like winking at you, like
like there's these and I you probably know what I'm talking about with the times that he's giving. I mean, it was very obvious that what was happening, and then when something else pushed that narrative a little bit further, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. So I thought it was disappointing because, again, the cast here is a dynamic one. Tiana Taylor, we forgot to mention, Sasha Kaye, and then, of course, Catalina Sandino Moreno, who's
but still, the women were just kind of like,
they're just in the background, right?
They were just kind of like,
they're counting the money.
Word? Yeah, tied to the house, which is kind of sexist.
Right. So, I mean, ultimately, I just thought it was very uninspired. It's simply, checks off boxes like, the average crime thriller, much like because I was going over Joe Carnahan's filmography and Narc. I really love. I like Narc a lot, but that opening scene of Narc just really. I remember that most from that film, and this kind of maybe starts that way a little bit with the murder, but not as well. But anyway, there's basically just I thought there was familiar beats, not very much creativity in my opinion, and I thought the characterizations were a little bit flimsy. So I think there's some themes that they could have gotten a little bit into or explored, like greed or loyalty to the cop world, I guess, but I don't think they were very interested in any of that, and basically gave us a shoot 'em up movie, which kind of fell short for me. So
all right, well, we'll get into final thoughts and grades. And yeah, I'll just kind of reiterate what I said before, which is that, this is a film that I believe takes a very generic, seen a million times storyline and elevates it with a really good cast. And I think there are enough twists and turns, as obvious as they may be, to keep the audience engaged. And I feel like it has like I think the execution and delivery of the payoff is ultimately worthwhile. There's some good action sequences. Again, I think that the movie has a scale that these Netflix movies oftentimes don't have. I think it's a perfectly fine, enjoyable movie. This is a movie that would do really well on cable, right? It's like one of those movies. So for me, I'm giving it a B-. I think it does enough to recommend. Jocelyn, your final thoughts and grade.
Yeah, I totally agree that it's like one of those movies that if it was on during the day on TBS, I'd probably check it out and have it on in the background. I will also say I'm glad that we do this wrap up, because I forgot to also mention that I felt like it was trying to be super suspenseful, and it just wasn't being suspenseful at all. And I wonder if that again goes back to what we were talking about, where it's like they're saying everything instead of doing. And for me, that just kind of left me kind of bored in the middle, because if you're not piecing together clues that they're dropping along the way, then what are you doing? You're just watching these people. There's that light thing with the pigs, and it's they're trying to be creative, but it doesn't really work out for me. So I just don't think it was as clever as it thought it was. But I still think that it's a movie that the average, film movie person would like to watch. I'm giving it a C+, which doesn't mean I recommend it, but I do recommend it to my, if my parents asked for something that was on, I'd be like, yeah, y'all would like this. So I don't know what that means, but C+.
I want to change our website to filmmovieperson.com now. If you're a film movie person, I love that. Film movie person.
I say that?
Yes, you did. You would say the average film movie person would like to watch it.
I'm going to change my Instagram handle to film movie person.
Yeah. All right. We should start the San Antonio film movie person.
You guys,
society.
It's like the community mascot.
Oh yeah.
It's just a white blob person. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, Kiko, your final thoughts and grade.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. Again, I thought the heist plan, if you think about it a little bit, it just collapses under even the lightest scrutiny. So the misdirection is there but if you're paying attention, the answers are kind of telegraphed for you, which diminished the impact for me overall. So that's especially frustrating with how stacked the cast is. But I thought that they were underused and the whole story never really comes together for me. So I'm giving this a solid C.
All right, and we will get into our final film, Dead Man's Wire. So Dead Man's Wire is based on a true story. On February 8th, 1977, Tony Kuritzis entered the office of Richard Hall, president of the Meridian Mortgage Company, and took him hostage with a sawed-off shotgun wired with a dead man's wire from the trigger to Tony's own neck. This is a film directed by Gus Van Sant and starring Bill Skarsgård in the lead role. Interesting because this movie is considered as part of the awards push for last year, 2025, but is technically coming out wide in 2026. So it's a 2026 release, technically speaking. I think the first thing I wanted to mention about the movie, because I think that it's the thing that really stands out to me is this is maybe the best version of capturing a 70s aesthetic that I've ever seen. It looks like remarkably like a 70s movie, and just like from the camera grain to the shots to the soundtrack and the music to the changing in between that and like television stream feeds, the camera angles, the like how it often has like long shots and stuff like that. The movie just captures the aesthetic of a 70s movie so incredibly well. Something that I was like truly impressed by, because a lot of times this is like they try to do this, especially like in like horror movies and sometimes stuff like that, and it just feels like, again, like cosplay, or like they're trying harder, just putting like a filter on the lens or something like that.
And everyone's wearing like bell bottoms and
afros
and
yeah, exactly. But the 70s aesthetic, from the costumes to the way that the movie looks, is like impeccable. It's really well done, and a lot of credit goes to production designers and Van Sant for capturing the essence of that. And this is sort of like a tense hostage situation kind of thing. I've seen a lot of comparisons to like Dog Day Afternoon, which feels appropriate, and basically telling this story of this real life story of a guy who basically took this guy hostage, who was very angry, who felt he was wronged, and sort of gets involved with like a police negotiation, gets some like random characters involved in all of it, and a really impressive performance, in my opinion, from Bill Skarsgård here, who is in the lead role, who I think again is like genuinely really, really good, and plays the sort of like both parts of this guy who is like sometimes a little bit jokey, but also has like a big time temper, who you can tell is like moderately apologetic about things, and I feel like he just sort of dances around those things and in between those things really well. There's a couple of performances, like supporting performances, that I feel have like varying degrees of success. One performance I really like is Coleman Domingo here, who is just a very captivating performer, and I feel like he plays a radio DJ that the main character is a big fan of, and ultimately gets him involved in the hostage negotiations. He's really great. And then you have Al Pacino totally phoning it in. Basically, I read that he did one day of work. He has this weird Southern accent.
Which is funny because you mentioned Dog Day Afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought of that until you mentioned that, so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. And I Al Pacino's just like doing that chewing scenery thing that I just don't really particularly care for. But these movies where you have someone doing something illegal or a criminal or something like that, I'm always looking for, do they succeed in making this character empathetic in some way, where you can like really try to understand the plight of the person, even though they're doing an objectively wrong thing. And I feel like this movie succeeds at that, where I feel like it does do a good job of allowing you to empathize and feel and understand the anger of Bill Skarsgård's character, even though as a viewer what he's doing is like very dangerous, very wrong. And I think that's a testament to what I feel like is a pretty solid script. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think that there's anything particularly sort of like incredible about the movie, but I feel like there's enough like small things, like, again, Skarsgård's performance, the 70s aesthetic and the look of the thing, the proper building of tension, and all of that is enough to where I feel like this movie feels very solid. It's maybe slightly unspectacular, but it is very, very solid. And so, Kiko, I will go ahead and turn to you.
Yeah, I have to admit, I saw this film at least a month and a half ago, so I had to concentrate and remember a lot of it. But I'll agree with you with the production design, top notch. You're right. I thought I was transported back to, sounds cliche, but right in that, I felt like I was in Dog Day Afternoon. Like it was made, not only did it look like it,
yeah,
but it was made during that era, which was
yes.
was incredible. And again, Dog Day Afternoon is one of Al Pacino's greatest performances ever. So putting him in this movie, you would hope that it helped, but it actually hurt because of how uninspired he seemed to be throughout the entire thing. So I was really disappointed with what he delivered on this, even though it was a smaller role. So Skarsgård, I thought he was just fantastic. I mean, he gives this really intense performance. It's hard to understand it's hard to understand how studios decide what to push out and when to push it out, because like you said, this was open last year, but it didn't get like a big rollout. So like, what is in the studio heads' minds where they're like, man, we have a really solid film here, but it's probably not going to compete with, The Sinners and The One Battle After Another. I just find that interesting where they kind of do it like this, where they release it, in a few theaters in December, and then
I wonder if they were hoping for Skarsgård to get a nom.
Maybe. I mean, I don't see why. I mean, I don't see why if they had done a little bit of work, he could have been at least in the conversation. But again, it was every year is there's a lot of competition. So, Gus Van Sant, I thought he did a great job. I mean, he hasn't made a movie like this in a while. When I say a movie like this, I mean like something that people actually know that it's it's coming out at even on a small scale like this. So I thought he blended the suspense with like that 70s thriller style energy, and I thought it felt fresh for him. And then just there's a few like themes that I liked. I liked the whole idea of the class struggle and society's like fascination with violence, which is something that, of course, Dog Day Afternoon also covers. So I thought that there was a lasting impression that was left because of that. What else? Let me see what else I wrote down. I thought that the film slowed down a little bit in the second act with the extended like phone conversations. That was a little bit mundane for me. But and then with Cody, I'll disagree a little bit. I mean, the motivations behind why he was doing it, I wanted to empathize with him. I felt like I just wanted a little bit more. There was a few things that I wish I had felt for this character that didn't come across completely, but I felt that it was mostly there, but not all the way there. So again, this it echoes classics like Dog Day Afternoon, and some viewers are gonna I think it's for some viewers it's gonna suffer because of that, because it doesn't really match that impact. But if you're looking at Skarsgård, if you're looking at the art direction, if you're looking at the pacing, I thought that it was pretty spot on. So enjoyed it.
And Jocelyn.
God, I don't even know where where I fall on this. I feel like I have really complex thoughts about this. I thought, like you guys mentioned, Bill Skarsgård was excellent. I think occasionally he was like venturing into like Hunter S. Thompson territory with his like gruffiness. Like there was a couple times he was speaking and it really reminded me of like Johnny Depp doing Hunter S. Thompson in Fear and Loathing. So that kind of like took me out of it a little bit. I totally agree that Al Pacino was like, I think he was a detriment. Like no added value to this. Like phoning it in is kind of a funny pun because he's literally like on the phone for the majority of it. Yes. And he just really kind of took away from whatever Bill Skarsgård had done as far as like building the momentum of this movie. Because it really does. I feel like not a lot happens. Not enough happens for it to hold my interest. It really kind of dragged in the center for me. And Dog Day Afternoon never does. Like, it's intense from the beginning, and it just goes. And this one, I felt like it really kind of, I started tuning out a little bit. And I will say also, I think that it was too, oh, wait, before I say that, the Coleman Domingo. I'm so glad you mentioned him because I was like, literally like, he's one of the standout as regard, like in partnership with Bill Skarsgård. Like them two together in this was the best part of it. But I think it was too ambiguous as far as what you were supposed to think. I kind of agree with Kiko with what he was saying as far as like if they had just gone more, like a little more into the empathy for the guy, or even like a little more into him being a terrible person. If it had chose a lane a little more, it would have been better, because by the end, when they get like, the resolution and what happens, I was left thinking like, okay, who cares? Like, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I don't really know what the movie thinks. And then, with the ending and what happens with both the characters, it's like, kind of who cares? Also, I don't think it really built the suspense a lot for me, because it's kind of like either he shoots his head off or he doesn't. That's kind of it. It's like, is it going to happen or doesn't it? That to me isn't really kind of interesting. It's just like yes or no. There's nothing else supporting that. As far as like playing with that, is he going to do it? Is he not going to do it? There was no kind of building the anticipation or not either way. So I agree with you guys that it looked great. Bill Skarsgård was great. I think Gus Van Sant is a very talented director, but I wish that it had maybe taken more of a risk. I wish it had taken a risk a little more.
All right. Well, we'll get into final thoughts and grades. And yeah, like I said before, it has impeccable production design and visual style, kind of perfectly and maybe better than anything I've ever seen, capturing the aesthetic of the 1970s and 70s films in particular. Like Kiko said, it looks like it comes from this looks like a movie from the 70s, like just visually and everything else. And I think because of that, and because of like a really great performance from Bill Skarsgård, it does kind of elevate and give a boost to a movie that I feel like otherwise would have been, kind of like a still, good movie, but like on the lower end. I feel like it gets bumped up. So this is like a B- movie that I feel like gets bumped up to a B because of like nailing style and just like honestly a pleasure to look at, and then also a lead performance that's completely captivating. So I'm going with a B on this one. Kiko, your final thoughts and grade.
Yeah, just overall, I think it was anchored by a really powerful lead performance. The atmosphere was great. I think Gus Van Sant, I'd really like to see him do more of this work. There's some funny scenes. I think that the social commentaries adds a little bit of depth in there as well. Not as much as Dog Day Afternoon, of course, but at least it's trying. I really wish that they had done something with Al. Sorry, Mr. Pacino. I know you're coming into your what is it called? Twilight years. But
I think he's been there a long
yeah,
time.
he's been there a while. But he's a new dad, right? Doesn't he have like a 1-year-old or
Oh
something?
my gosh, yes.
Anyway, so I think empathy-wise, I think I wanted a little bit more, even though I did feel for him to a certain point. But I think overall, it wanted to be this really classic thriller. It gets maybe halfway there, so I'm giving it a B-.
Okay. And Jocelyn.
Yeah, I think the worst part was that it just felt a little boring. I wasn't super captivated by it, regardless of what Bill was doing, which was excellent, and what they were trying to make. I just don't think it reached it for me, so I'm doing a C+.
All right. So that's going to do it for this week, and we will probably be taking a couple of weeks off. There's only one real wide release next week, and it's getting horrible reviews.
What is
Which
that?
is it?
Mercy, the Chris Pratt movie.
I was going to mention it when we were talking about the Chris's.
Yeah. And then the following week, I do really want to see Send Help, the new Sam Raimi movie, but I will be...
So do I.
Yeah, that looks great.
I'll be in Sundance, so maybe we'll cover it the following week or something like that. And Jocelyn, I know you're really wanting to see Melania, which also comes out wide.
Oh, should we review that?
I don't even want... I would wash my eyes, like, not just because of the whole Melania of it all, but the Brett Ratner, too. Like,
Yeah, it's what a combo.
I mean, a combo made in hell.
I'm trying to get an interview with her, but I don't know if it's gonna happen.
Sorry.
Just kidding.
I won't hurt your chances, Kiko.
Yeah.
I'm just playing.
No, but the Send Help. What is it?
Yeah, that looks a lot of fun. Like a lot of fun, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It
Rachel
does.
McAdams hasn't worked in a real long time.
Um,
And it looks like a juicy role for her.
yeah.
Definitely.
But I think like I said, I'll be way into Sundance. Like I said, maybe we'll do a later episode or something like that. But
Come up for some air, man. Gee whiz, they're gonna be locked
For
in
some
that room.
Sam Raimi.
so you want me to come out for some air and watch another movie?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So if you want to reach out to us, find us on social media at CineSnob. Go to cinesnob.net. There you will see some previews for Sundance. You'll also see my Sundance content that comes out there. Kiko, anything coming out interviews-wise soon?
Yeah, go to cinesnob.net and I'll have a interview with director Gus Van Sant that I was able to do for Dead Man's Wire.
Wow.
And then there's also a movie coming out called Clica, which is a music drama about modern regional Mexican musicians. So I got a chance to interview the music producer Jimmy Humelde, who's really big in this genre, and then a musician named JD, who has a really big following as well. He's not as big as like a Peso Pluma, but he's close. So those interviews will be on there as well.
Or a Flaco.
Or Flaco Jimenez.
All right. Well, aside from that, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this CineSnob podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit cinesnob.net. See you next week.